Hello everyone, this is Venom, and we are back with another Destiny 2 video, and this is going to be a interesting video because, as we all know, Bungie's giving us a lot of interesting stuff in game, a lot of which many of us would have never guessed they would have done. I mean, we're getting subclasses and exotics we never would have thought of or could only dream of in our wildest dreams. We're getting new PvP maps, we're getting reprised weapons. We just found out that sunsetting is getting unsunset, like literally in the truest sense of it. All the old sunset gear, even though most of it's been deleted, is going to be able to come up to her, or is going to have a power restriction removed come final shape. I wish I did it now, but that's a different story. I mean, stuff that we never would have thought we were going to get, we are getting. So, in the spirit of that, here are 10 things I'd actually like to see in game. Some of these are really still sorely needed. Like, Bungie has added in a lot of stuff here recently, like we got the LFGs, we got the in-game LFG finally, which is something that it really should have launched with, but again, that's neither here nor there. We're getting a lot of functions added to the game, we're getting a lot of features added in, we're getting subclasses added in that are just amazing looking. I figured I'd go ahead and give my 10 cents as far as what I'd like to see in game. Some of it is still sorely needed. First and foremost is transferring weapons between characters without having to use the damn Destiny item manager. Now, as of right now, there's no direct way to transfer items between characters, whether it be weapons or armor or what have you. To do it in-game, you actually got to log into the character with the item, deposit it in the vault, then swap to the character you want to put it onto and take it out of the vault, versus using the Destiny item manager, we can just click and drag it over. We need something like that in-game. Or, an alternate route you can go, and set it up to where if you want to, you can tie your side characters to your main character. That way you don't have to worry about having to progress through the story again on those characters, and you can just swap between them without having to actually log out of the game. In fact, it should just be a thing to where you can just, swap between characters without having to log into it. Instead of having to go to the character select screen, just say, hey, swap to Warlock. This is as easy as you swap weapons. So, I don't know how feasible something like that is, but that is something I'd like to see, especially the item transfer portion. Maybe not the character swapping portion so much, but definitely being able to swap items, especially weapons and armor, quickly, without having to use a Destiny item manager is something we definitely should have by now. Next up on the list, as far as things having to do with the vault, we need a search function for the vault. The vault can hold up to like 600 items right now. There's no real way to search them. If you've got a lot of random god rolls and stuff, or you got a lot of random armor pieces and weapons, I mean, there's more than 600 weapons and armor pieces in the game, I believe. It's kind of hard to find what it is you're looking for unless, again, using a third-party application like Destiny Item Manager. So adding a search function to the vault, I think, is definitely necessary at this point. Again, I don't think it should be too hard to add something like that in. Then again, I may be incorrect. It may be something very hard to do, but as of right now, the only way to search the vault is to use the Destiny Item Manager. Now, yes, you can sort the vault. It's not really the same thing. Being able to actually search for the items you want quickly and effectively, I think is a much better thing than just kind of having everything shoved in the vault with a couple of ways to sort it. Now, speaking of third-party applications, we need something like a Destiny Item Manager / Destiny Armor Picker in Game 2. Now, for those that don't know, Destiny Armor Picker is a website where you can basically link your account to it. You can go through and you can find out what combinations of armor you got that would give you certain stats. So, for example, if I want to see what all armor would give me, like, maxed out mobility and maxed out resilience if possible, I can actually type in what it is I want to use, what character. I can type in my build. I can type in what exotic I want to use. And then we'll go through and calculate what possible stat combinations I have. Now, again, I don't know how feasible any of this is. I'm going to probably say that a lot in here, but I don't know how feasible something like that would be for Destiny 2 for in-game, but we need something like that. Now, you can then take that loadout from Destiny Armor Picker and then go to Destiny Item Manager, again, another third-party app, type in those armor pieces, and it'll tell you, you can pull them over for you. So you can basically make your build on Destiny Armor Picker, and it goes off the armor you got. This is not speculation. This goes off of what's in your vault and what's on your person. You pick the armor you want, take it over to Destiny Item Manager, move it all over to you, and you basically make your build from there. For those who don't know, by the way, that's how you make builds pretty easily in Destiny 2. I'll link both those sites down below too, so you can check them out. But if you're having trouble making builds or you're having trouble balancing out those stats, those are the two sites you use to do that. Destiny or Armor Picker and Destiny Item Manager. So we need something like that in-game as well. Alright, let's talk about subclasses. Now, I know we're getting Prismatic subclass coming out here soon. I still think we need to get one more dark subclass. Now, as far as I know, Prismatic doesn't count as a darkness subclass. It's not our third subclass. It's like the class in between both of them. We still need something to balance out the classes. We still need a third subclass for darkness. Now, I know a lot of us, I know some people avoid spoilers or speculation. There was still that mysterious red subclass that we saw. We saw pictures of it. We saw some videos of it. we still don't know what it is. There was a lot of leaks about it. A lot of it, of course, is obviously speculation. Now, that red subclass could have been Prismatic, or it could be something totally different. That being said, I still think that we should have a third Darkness subclass just to even things out. Now, again, I don't know how likely something like that is. It could be something that Bungie is working on still and haven't told us. It could be that we have that in the works. Like, my theory right now is that they had Prismatic for down the line. They had it more ready, and they went ahead and brought it forward because they wanted Final Shape to be, really, really good. It could be we're getting 2 subclasses for Final Shape. That would be epic right there. Prismatic, don't get me wrong. I'm fully happy with Prismatic as of right now, as what we're going to be getting. But I would not put it past Bungie right now because, again, back against the wall. I would not put it past Bungie to surprise us like the last week or last couple weeks of waiting before Final Shape comes out and say, oh yeah, by the way, not only do you have Prismatic, but in the first episode, you also discover a new Dark subclass too. So I fully hope that we come out with a third Dark subclass just because OCD makes it a little bit hard to overlook that we've got 3 light subclasses and only 2 dark subclasses. But that is something I would like to see. Hopefully that red subclass wasn't Prismatic. Hopefully we do get one eventually again. And if it's not coming up for Final Shape, which again, I really doubt it is. But I do hope that we get a new dark subclass at some point to kind of tie up the system. So that is number 4. For number 5, I know we haven't even got Prismatic yet, but I am thinking ahead to the future. I do hope that we get additional aspects for Prismatic at some point. Now, I do think that Prismatic is looking fairly strong as it is. However, I can't help but also mention that a lot of the power from some of the other subclasses came from the fact you can combine certain aspects together. Like, for example, Stylist Executioner with the Vanishing Step, being able to dodge and turn invisible for a hunter. That dodge was the easiest way to turn invisible that hunters had. It was very, very easy to do. That or even Shadow Dive. They were the only 2 ways we had to turn invisible without getting an enemy kill, and we don't have either one for Prismatic right now. We don't have either one for Void. So hopefully we do get some additional aspects down the line. Again, I'm not saying they're going to come out right away. Maybe they're going to come months from now. Maybe they're going to come a year from now. But I do hope that Prismatic does get stronger as time progresses, and we do get additional aspects at least. Even if we don't get new grenades and melees, I do hope that we at least get different aspects. Next up, we've been getting a lot of weird weapons, a lot of cool weapons, and a lot of reprised weapons. I've heard every argument for some of these weapons coming back. Like, at some point I heard people saying we're never going to get Recluse back, we're never going to get Mountaintop back, they're too overpowered, they're never going to come back again. And here we are, not only getting them, we're getting them with better rolls and in some cases better condition than we had than when they left. I think we're well beyond the point that people were making as far as power creep goes. I think we're well past what people thought weapons could possibly be at this point. I think we have much stronger weapons than we could have imagined at any point in Destiny 2. So as far as power creep goes, I'm not too worried about weapons that have come out in the past. I think at this point, any weapon that has come out before in Destiny 1 or 2, at this point, will probably not even stand up to weapons we got today, or at the very least, be equal to what we have today. I say all that to say this. I would like to see both Icebreaker and Pocket Infinity come back. Now, Icebreaker, I think, would be the more likely the two to come back. I think even with its original perk, I think it would be it'd be strong in today's sandbox, but I think even it would eventually be power creeped out. But I think even in today's sandbox, it would be pretty good. They could probably tweak it a little bit to make the perk not as strong, or to make the sniper rifle maybe not quite as strong, so it's not just, infinite damage and completely takes over the place of Whisper the Worm. But I do think Icebreaker would fit in today's sandbox. Now, Pocket Infinity, that one might be a little bit harder just because of the way it actually fired. It could be a little bit harder. Again, you can bring it back in a bit of a weaker version. It doesn't have to be at full power, but I think you could still bring both of them back and make them work in today's sandbox. I think the argument that they are too strong at this point in Destiny 2 is we're long past that. With just the perks you can get on weapons today, I think if you balance, I think they could easily be balanced for today's sandbox or tomorrow's sandbox. So I don't think it would be an issue to have either of those back. I do hope to see them back at some point. We've heard many times that things are never going to come back, and then they end up coming back in Destiny 2. So as far as I'm concerned, it's just a matter of time before Icebreaker or Pocket Infinity come back, and we get to play with them again. All right, on the topic of weapons, This one is probably likely to happen at some point, but I would like to see an elemental version of the mountaintop. I would like to see a micro missile grenade launcher, and again, this may happen at some point, but I would like to see a micro missile version of the grenade launcher for elemental, for the secondaries. I would like to see a void or a solar or an arc micro missile grenade launcher. I think that'll be pretty cool. I think we will get one at some point. Now I know we just got the new rocket sidearm. It's not quite the same thing. It's fun, don't get me wrong, I really like it, but I would really like to see an elemental version of the mountaintop, as well as a strand and a stasis version of it too. So the whole gamut. I'd like to see the additional primaries as well as secondaries. I would like to see the secondaries first though. Obviously they wouldn't be called mountaintop, but I would like to see some additional micro missile grenade launchers in the near future. Next up, this is one that I know the community wants to have back a lot too. Again, we've been told it's not going to come back, but we've heard that a lot for things for Destiny 2 and from Bungie in general, so I don't put too much stock in it anymore, because if Bungie really has to give the community what they want and their backs against the wall, we know that they've done it before. So, next on the list that I think we may be getting back, or at least I hope we get back, I'd say probably out of everything on this list, this is probably the one that the community wants more than anything else right now, or after everything else we get, of course. As far as features and as far as events go, the Spur Racing League has to come back. The SRL has to come back. Everybody's going crazy for it. If you brought back the Spur Racing League, that by itself would bring back a lot of Destiny 2 players. That right there is something a lot of people have been asking for since Destiny 2 came back out, or not back out, but since it released. It was really popular in Destiny 1. There's not a damn reason not to have it in Destiny 2, so I fully expect this to come back at some point. Whether it's soon or whether it's in the next cycle when Bungie's back against the wall again, we'll see. Cause again, Bungie goes through these spats. They go through the cycles where their back is against the wall, they're in trouble, so they put out a bunch of great content, they bring out a bunch of cool stuff that we want, and then they get complacent, and then the execs take over, and they push out a bunch of Eververse crap, and they piss everybody off because expansion sucks, and then suddenly they're crap, okay, we're in trouble again, let's give them what they want again. I would not surprise me if we get this in a couple years during the next oh shit moment when Bungie's really got when their next expansions come out and they're not so great or something like that. It would not surprise me if we got Spur Wrestling League then. It'd be nice if we got it beforehand though, so that's one I would really like to see. I wasn't too huge on it myself, but it was something nice to do besides PvP and besides doing the regular PvE stuff. You can hop on there for a bit, play for a couple hours, do something cool. It was really fun. For me, not in huge spurts. Like I said, I didn't like it a whole lot. It wasn't like my main thing, but plenty of people did love it. Spur Wrestling League has got to come back. We need something to do with all these Sparrows. Next one. This is the one that's probably the least likely to happen, but it'd be pretty cool to see. I would like to see ship and Sparrow combat. Now, for Sparrows, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I would just like to see weapons mounted on Sparrows. They probably wouldn't even be used that often, but you could definitely see Guardians going around, say the Cosmodrome, having fun with their Sparrow, shooting enemies with them like that. They probably wouldn't be used for missions too much, but I definitely don't see any reason why we shouldn't have weapons mounted on our Sparrows. I mean, we've got tanks in game that they've animated and used before. I don't see why it'd be too big of a deal to go ahead and add in some little missile launchers or add in some lasers to the front of our Sparrows. I don't see that being a problem. I don't know why we don't have them to begin with. Again, that's just me. Now, the ship combat thing would basically be a whole new kind of gameplay for Destiny 2, and that's the one that I don't know or think they would ever do. They may. I'm only saying all this because it's really kind of a shame we've got all these cool ships, and all they really do is give us a visual when we are in orbit, basically. It'd be nice if they actually came out with some kind of ship combat, and whether it be PvP or PvE or whatnot, and each ship did something different. Now, for your generic legendary ships, they probably would all, have the same kind of generic loadout. And it would be cool if you had different abilities for all the exotic ships. Like, I got the pyramid ship on my screen right now. It'd be cool if it had, something like a really, really powerful shield or something. Like, if it could do, some crazy damage. Or if you had some kind of ships that had stealth or something. Like, you have a bunch of ships that you could get really creative with the weapons on. That'd be something that'd be really cool. Now, do I think that's something that would happen? No. Do I really hope it is? Yeah. It's in the realm of possibility. Probability, maybe not so much, but possibility, yeah. Now, out of the two things, I think we'll probably get weapons on Sparrows before we actually get ship combat. But, again, you never know. Now, if Destiny 3 is a thing and it comes out, maybe we get ship combat then. Because it'd probably be really hard right now to go back and retroactively add in weapons and special effects to all the old exotic ships we got right now. It'd probably be easier to start that on a new game. Now, I'm not too keen on Destiny 3. if there is one, unless our stuff is rolling over, because I really don't want to have to go. This is a looter shooter, and making people restart in a looter shooter, not a good look. Not a good look. That's why Destiny 1, that's why Destiny 2 was kind of hard to start, because again, you lost everything, and then the weapon you start off with had no random rules. That was terrible. I don't want to go back and regrind for it now. I mean, even stuff we're grinding for now is a lot of reprised Destiny 1 stuff too. So, I don't think the community wants to do that again. Don't get me wrong. If Destiny 3 comes out and they do take all our stuff away again too, they're going to have a community, but they're also going to lose a lot of people too. I know I don't want to have to go through and regrind all that. Destiny 3 would have to be just like the most amazing thing I ever saw. And even then, I'm not sure I'd pre-order it or be one of the first people to play it. I mean, I really don't want to start that over. But, I digress. I think it'd be easier for them to do a Destiny 3 for something like this, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. And number 10, this is the final thing I'd like to see added to Destiny 2, and that is going to be armor crafting. Now, hear me out when I say armor crafting, and let me make a caveat, because I don't know why people are divided on crafting itself. Now, I don't think exotic crafting should be a thing, because really, there's only really one good god rule or really good rule for most exotics. Most, I say not all, because some you can tweak for different situations, but for the most part, they perform the same. As far as weapon crafting go, for some reason, the community is divided on it, and I don't understand why. Now, I understand that at one point getting a god roll meant you had the god roll. That was great. Now, when it's the weapon that's craftable, even if you get the god roll, you're like, okay, whatever. This isn't like, it's not a red board. I'm going to craft it anyway. I understand that. I also understand that RNG is a bitch, and that unfortunately, your time is not always respected. And that was the one thing that people had, because back when we had only RNG and we didn't have craftable weapons, people still haven't got Vex and Mythic class right now. That's how bad RNG can be sometimes. Weapon crafting at least respects your time. Now, granted, it's not always very quick. I mean, you can still end up grinding for a long time to get something, but you can also grind forever with RNG to get the god roll you want. I mean, people are still grinding out Onslaught right now to get the weapons they want to get, and it's possible they may never get them. But weapon crafting, yeah, you can get them. Now, the argument is, well, with weapon crafting, everybody can get the god roll. People that were grinding for it could already get the god roll. And that's the thing. Whatever it is you're grinding to get that god roll, if other people are grinding for it too, that means that they can grind for it too. People who don't do raids are not grinding raids to get the god roll for it. I mean, that's a really bad argument for that. I mean, if everybody can craft a weapon, yeah, everybody's going to craft a weapon. But if everybody can grind for the god roll too, they're also going to grind for the god roll. So it's not really a good comparison. The difference is that once you can craft a weapon, your time is, again, being respected. I mean, with a raid, if I really want to craft a weapon, I only got to do a raid 5 weeks in a row. Now, granted, it's like a month, but I know after 5 weeks, once I've got the weapon drop, I can buy a red border at the end of each raid. Once I've actually got that to drop, I know after 5 weeks, I'm going to be able to craft this weapon. If it's RNG, I may never get the weapon. That's the thing. A lot of people are still grinding for weapon god rolls that they have never gotten or probably never will get. So weapon crafting, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with it. It's just people were just assuming that, hey, weapon crafting is a thing, so everybody's going to be using the exact same rolls. They were already doing that. We've got whole YouTube videos and channels dedicated to showing people what rolls to farm for. There are still weapons right now that can't be crafted that you can get god rolls for. So the idea that weapon crafting somehow ruined the game, I think is a false one. I think it's something that people are just kind of stretching for, because, yes, it is technically a bit easier if you get lucky and get the red borders. However, you could just as easily get the god roll on the first try on the drop too, and a lot of people did that, and they'd be like, oh, I got the god roll. Where you got lucky and got it on the first few drops. Other people have grinded for it for months and never got it. So that's my piece on weapon crafting. I like it, and because it respects your time. You still got to put time and energy into getting the weapon. It's just like you do for grinding, except I know at the end of the day, my hard work is going to pay off. I don't know that for, random weapon drops. Now, where does armor crafting come into this? Well, you could do armor crafting a couple of different ways. Now, I say armor crafting because too many times I've come across builds where I was like one stat point away. Like literally, if I could take one stat point out for 1 point of one of my armor and put it on another one, and I would have perfect stats for what I wanted to do, like triple or even quadruple 100 sometimes. And it was just 1 or 2 points away, and I couldn't do it. Getting perfect armor is like trying to get perfect weapons. It does not always work, and it is a real bitch. Now, it's easier now that we can focus exotics, but it was a real bitch before trying to farm exotics as well, especially since the ghost mods did not work for exotic drops. I found that out the hard way. So if you've been trying to farm exotics in like lost sectors and you were relying on your ghost mods to help you get those stats, they don't work. Now, I don't know if they changed that recently, but as of the time I was grinding, they did not work for that. So how would armor crafting go? Where armor crafting went probably more along the lines of, and this is just how I'm thinking of it, it'd probably more along the lines of armor modifying, not so much armor crafting. It'd be more of you could use so many materials to move a stat point from one piece of armor to another one, and then, let's say it take, ascended cores to do it, or ascended charge. You spend one ascended shard, you can move 1 point from one piece of armor to another one. Or let's say, you can improve a piece of armor. Let's say it's got 50 stat points. You can grind out other armor pieces that are similar to it, and every time you break one down, you have a chance to get, a item that you can put into it and place a stat point where you want. Or you could literally craft your own custom set of armor, and then you can take it out and level it up just like you do your weapons. And every time you level it up, you can put the stat where you want to. Something like that. Something like that would be pretty cool. You might even be able to modify the armor like you do weapons. Let's say when you break down raid armor, you can get mods, or you can get mod slots for that raid or something. Like imagine you go through and do all of Root of Nightmare. You can break that armor down and then use the mod slots from Root of Nightmare, and add it to other armor. You can take that armor in and equip Root of Nightmare mods in it. Something like that. Armor crafting could go a lot of different ways, but I guess overall some way to adjust the stats on your armor or increase them. I mean, it'd be cool if you could take cool looking low level armor and make it higher stats. Or you can take some of that really cool, high spike stat armor that's got, spikes and just 2 stats you want and 2s and everything else, but it might be low level. We'll go ahead and level it up and get, max out the stats on it, something like that. Or take that perfect exotic you got and continue to level something like that up. So armor crafting can go a few different ways. I don't think we're going to get it. I mean, like I said, there's been a lot of weird complaints about crafting in general. I don't think most of it is I don't think there's a good foundation for most of it, because that same argument people use against crafting is the same argument you would use against RNG, period. It's the same argument you use against RNG farming. So, but that is just my 2 cents. I would like to see armor crafting or some kind of stat adjustment for armor, because like I said, there's been far too many times where it was very close to the perfect set of stats, and it just barely missed it, and that's really frustrating. So that's going to do for today, guys. Those are 10 things I would like to see added to Destiny 2. Like I said, it's just a wish list. I don't think we're going to get most of, not any of this stuff on there. Maybe 1 or 2 things on there eventually. I don't know. Some things are more likely than others. Like I said, I think we'll probably get the Icebreaker and or Pocket Infinity at some point. Hopefully we get a Darkness or another Darkness subclass at some point. Who knows? But that's going to do it for today. Please let me know down below what you guys would like to see in game. Again, it doesn't have to be feasible or not. Doesn't matter how likely it is. We've been seeing stuff coming from Bungie here recently that was very unlikely, or that we never would have thought of. So tell me down below what you guys want to see in the game, regardless of how likely it is. Please leave a like on the video if you like what we're doing here. Please sub if you love it. And I will see you guys on the next video.